3 bone-chilling true lighthouse horror stories that haunt you forever. The wind howled like a lost soul, crashing waves pounding relentlessly against the jagged rocks below. Shadows danced along the towering white walls of the lighthouse, revealing dark secrets locked away within its ancient stones. This was no ordinary lighthouse, it was a beacon of terror, telling whispered stories of the lost and the damned. Tales of sailors drawn to their doom, haunting cries echoing through the night and the flickering light that seemed to beckon them back to shore. Only they didn't return. Not all of them. In this coastal town, stories were passed around like old photographs, faded memories but vivid in the horror they inspired. Some swore they could hear the whispers of the past echoing as they stood outside, the salt air thick with mystery. The first bizarre event happened years ago, the inexplicable disappearance of 2 lighthouse keepers. One stormy night, they simply vanished, leaving nothing but their tools scattered about. No bodies were found, just a lingering chill that made the town uneasy. As night fell, a group of curious teens dared each other. They crept towards the light, nervously laughing and shushing one another as shadows loomed larger around them. And suddenly, there it was, a ghostly figure. A keeper in tattered clothes, his face obscured by darkness, his hand raised in warning. Time seemed to freeze. Their hearts pounded, breath caught in tight chests. "Did you see that?" one shouted, wide-eyed terror glistening in their expressions. They ran, screams piercing the night, but the figure lingered in the air like a bad dream, blending into the mist. But it wasn't just the stories of missing keepers that blurred the line between legend and reality. An old journal was discovered, a relic belonging to one of the keepers. Its pages were soaked in fear-scrawled notes of shadows following him, whispers in the wind that led him to dark waters, where light and darkness intertwined until it became impossible to tell what was real. The journal was never found again, but what remained was an overwhelming sense of dread that wrapped around the lighthouse like an unshakable curse. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. As the tide rolled in, bringing with it an eerie calm, laughter echoed in the distance, but it quickly faded into a spine-chilling silence. The lighthouse stood tall, casting its beam across the water, but what lay behind that light? Was it merely guiding lost souls home, or was it luring them into the depths? The restless spirits of the keepers, the ghostly warning of the figure in the fog, and the journal's haunting notes all clanged together like the bells in a church, warning of an approaching storm that was much more than just weather. Would there be more disappearances? Would the light continue its sinister dance, swallowing anyone who dared to uncover the truth? The boys who had run in fear were now gripped with nightmares, replaying the haunting image of the keeper, as if the lighthouse itself was a predator. And far away, in the distance, the fog thickened, curling closer as if to swallow the truth hidden in the shadows. One burning question remained: what dark history was waiting to be uncovered beneath that cold, flickering light? Gusts of wind whipped through the streets, carrying with it a sense of warning. The locals, once lively, now moved with an air of unease, whispers of shadows and figures floating in the air around them. The story of the lighthouse had seeped into their collective consciousness, like a stain that refused to wash away. As night draped the town in darkness, the light from the lighthouse began its spectral dance once again. A few brave souls gathered on the beach, drawn by a mix of dare and dread. They retold the tale, their voices trembling with anticipation and fear. When the wind howled, it sounded like the lighthouse speaking, warning them to stay back. "This light, it calls to me," said Mac, the oldest of the friends, staring toward the flickering beam. His friends exchanged nervous glances, the moonlight reflecting their fear in wide eyes. "What if we went up there?" suggested Jamie, swallowing hard. We could be like the keepers, find out what really happened. Mac hesitated, memories of the ghostly figure still fresh in his mind. They had run from it before, but now, something deeper sparked his curiosity. Wasn't there something in there waiting to be uncovered? The unanswered questions hung thick in the air. One by one, they agreed, terror and thrill intertwining. The hike towards the lighthouse felt as if it stretched for miles. The closer they got, the more the salty air seemed to thicken, almost weighing down their steps. The beam of light cut through the night like a knife, each rotation of the lantern sending chills down their spines. Stepping inside the old wooden door, they were hit with a wave of dampness and decay. The air was stale, filled with echoes of time past. A sense of foreboding descended, but they pressed on, driven by that primal urge to explore the unknown. The spiral staircase wound higher and higher, creaking with the weight of generations. Each step was accompanied by a whisper of warning, a voice from the past urging them to turn back. But they couldn't. Curiosity and bravery battled against instinct, spurring them forward. Reaching the top, they found themselves in the lantern room, surrounded by glass that had been polished by countless storms. The beam swung across the water, illuminating endless blackness, a void that seemed to breathe, pulling them closer. Suddenly, a sound shattered the silence, a soft, sorrowful sobbing emanating from the shadows. They exchanged horrified glances, stepping back instinctively until Jamie called out, "Hello? Is someone there?" The sobbing stopped. The air turned electric. Every hair on their bodies rose as the temperature dropped. Shadows flickered like fireflies around them, coiling and wrapping, whispering secrets only the dark could understand. What emerged was a figure cloaked in darkness, eyes hollow and pleading. "Help me," it croaked, a sound that seemed to echo from a world beyond. Mac's heart raced, fear gripping him like a vice. What are you?" he managed to choke out, but before the figure could respond, the lighthouse shuddered violently. The glass rattled, the floor trembled, and an invisible force pushed them back. "We have to go!" Jamie screamed, but as they turned to escape, the air crackled with energy, trapping them. "The light needs souls!" The figure wailed, fading as the lighthouse's beam flashed quicker, illuminating the horrors lost in the depths. The friends screamed as the shadows surged forward. Would they become the next victims to the beacon's dark call? The walls echoed their cries as they fought against the encroaching darkness, their fates intertwined with those of the lighthouse, forever hanging in limbo. What would happen next? Would they escape the clutches of the cursed light, or would they become part of its haunting legacy? A deafening silence swallowed the lantern room, interrupted only by their heaving breaths. The shadows loomed, hesitant yet hungry. Jamie's voice trembled, cutting through the chilling air. "Guys, we can't stay here." Mac felt his stomach lurch. Panic surged through him, a wild accusation of fear. "We need to find a way out." He turned, gripping the rusty stair railing like a lifeline. But the moment he stepped back, the shadows grew bolder, pressing closer. The whispers, a cacophony of lost souls, swirled around them, scratching at the edges of their sanity. "Leave, it's not safe," they murmured, echoes twisting into painful wails. It felt as if the lighthouse itself was alive, its heart thrumming with dark desires. "Run!" Mac shouted as he pushed Jamie toward the staircase. He couldn't let fear paralyze them again, not now. The figure had disappeared, but the feeling of its hollow plea still reverberated, filling the empty air with dread. But as they stumbled down the stairs, every specter of hope turned to despair. The staircase seemed to stretch endlessly, twisting under their feet, a spiral tightening around them with every descending step. "Where's the exit?" Alex gasped behind them, his voice rising with panic. "It has to be down," Mac yelled, his thoughts racing. But doubt crept in. Was there another way out? Would the shadows even allow them to escape? He threw a glance back towards the lantern room, but the beam had dimmed, its glow now obscured by an unnerving darkness. They rushed onward, the stairs degenerating into a blur beneath them. As they turned a corner, Jamie stumbled, her foot tangling around a loose thread on the fabric of her jacket. "Keep going, don't stop," Mac urged, reaching back to pull her forward. But she hesitated, her eyes wide with terror. "Mac!" Her voice was barely a whisper now, trembling like a candle's wick about to flicker out. "What if we're trapped here?" He felt his own fear, heavy in his chest, as he looked into her eyes. "We can't think like that. We'll find a way out." And then it hit him, the blaze of the lighthouse light. It must have meant something more, a guide or a doorway they hadn't seen yet. "If we can just reach that beam, maybe it can break whatever curse surrounds us." With renewed determination, they bolted down the final steps, bursting onto the ground floor. But their escape was cut short. The door had vanished, replaced by solid stone, an unyielding wall of cold darkness. "No!" Jamie screamed, slamming against it in desperation. "No, no, no!" The others pounded their fists against the door, but it would not yield. Each impact echoed like a whisper of futility. The shadows shifted closer, pulsing with malignant intent. Just then, the flickering of light sparked their attention again. A dim glow flicked on at the far end of the room, a hidden panel. It beckoned them like a siren, tender yet sinister. "Over there!" Alex shouted, and they raced toward it, pushing past the suffocating dread that clung to them. As they neared, the light became blinding, illuminating the shapes of the shadows as they writhed and moaned in agony, lost and tormented souls. They were alive, hungry for reprieve. But who could help them? Who could let them escape? The shadows were growing restless, and their pleas transformed into howls that thudded against their chests like a heartbeat in the dark. The lighthouse had never been just a structure, it was a prison, a trap. "What if we let them out?" Jamie gasped, her voice barely audible over the din. "Maybe we can," but suddenly, a piercing shriek erupted from the shadows, halting all thought. The figure re-emerged, twisting between the shadows, eerily bright against the darkness. "No!" it cried, "you cannot free them, or they will take your souls." Mac's heart raced, panic clawing at his throat. This was what they had feared all along. They were caught in a web of malignant spirits that sought to ensnare them. It clawed at him, demanding his surrender. "Fight it!" he urged, fire igniting in his veins. But was there truly a way to fight the darkness, or were they destined to become part of the haunt? As the shadows surged, a chilling silence washed over the room once more. Every heartbeat felt haunting and quickened, bound to an unspeakable fate. Would they find the strength to confront their fears, or would the call of the lighthouse claim them forever? Time was running out, and the darkness pressed in on all sides. What awaited them as they dared to confront the pulse of the haunting light? The shadows pulsed. They breathed in and out, alive with hunger. Each wail resonated like a death knell, echoing off the stone walls in a rhythm that matched the pounding of Mac's heart. He could feel the weight of despair pressing down, a tangible fog that threatened to choke them. "Back away, now." Mac's voice was firm, though he felt anything but. With Jamie close behind, he moved toward the glowing panel, its light a beacon amid the encroaching darkness. It flickered, illuminating a swirling mass of anguished faces that stretched and twisted in the shadows. Their eyes glimmered with a desperate plea, begging for salvation. "Please!" cried one wretched soul, its voice breaking through the cacophony. "Help us! You can save us! We can't let them out!" Alex shouted, panic lacing his words. "Do you hear them? They want our souls too." Mac's breath hitched. The souls were torn, caught between the light and the darkness, yearning for release, yet their intentions were muddled. Would freeing them be an act of mercy or madness? His mind raced, pulling at the frayed strings of hope. "Maybe we can bind them." Jamie's voice trailed off, weighed down by uncertainty. "We just need to find a way to contain them." But as she spoke, a chilling wind surged through the room, extinguishing their courage as easily as it snuffed out the lantern's light. The whispers crescendoed, morphing into a chaotic symphony of anguish. The figure danced at the edges of the shadows, its luminous form convincing yet merciless. "Fools!" it screeched, pointing a twisted finger. "You think you can escape? You think you can save them? You belong to me now." Mac felt the room tilting, as if gravity itself was conspiring against them. The floor trembled, sending a shiver through his bones. "We have to pull together," he urged, steadying his breath. "On 3, we push against them. All together." Their hands clutched each other tightly, forming a circle of connected resolve. 1, 2, 3. They surged forward as one, pushing against the will of the shadows. To Mac's shock, a fissure cracked open in the panel's light. It shimmered like a mirage, inviting them deeper. Suddenly, a deafening roar erupted from the shadows. "No!" cried the figure, thrashing in fury. "You cannot resist forever." As they entered the radiant light, the shadows writhed in pain, their desperate screams echoing through the air. But for each shadow yanked into the light, another surged forward, brimming with dark intent. "Keep going." Jamie's voice cut through the chaos, rising high like a plea for survival. The light began to pulse, brighter and brighter until it enveloped them entirely. Mac felt warm, he could almost taste freedom just out of reach. The sensation shifted, a sudden coldness creeping into his bones. As the brilliance intensified, he glimpsed faces in the light, familiar faces. People he thought he'd lost. His heart faltered. "No! Get back!" But it was too late. The glow engulfed them, pulling Mac, Jamie, Alex into its heart, while the shadows wailed in agony behind them. Time felt distorted. Seconds stretched out like hours as they were swallowed by the light. They tumbled into a vast emptiness, feeling both weightless and immobile, free yet bound, and then nothing. The silence was staggering. No shadows. No cries. Just the pulse of the dark void around them. "Did we escape?" Mac whispered, every hope resting on the frail edge of his voice. "I don't know," Jamie replied, her tone somber, the weight of despair returning. "But this doesn't feel safe." In that moment, the warm light flickered momentarily, dimming like a dying star. Their surroundings began to twist, fading in and out of reality. "Mac, there's something wrong." Alex's words clung to the air, thick with anxiety. As the light dimmed further, the pulsating darkness encroached once more. Mac braced himself for whatever horror awaited them next. They had escaped the lighthouse, or so they thought. But somewhere within the depths of the void, the shadows lurked, biding their time. What awaited them when the light finally faltered? Would they face a new horror, or would the shadows claim them once again? The darkness thickened around them, pressing against their skin like ice. Mac blinked, hoping to find a familiar glimmer of light, but the void swallowed everything, erasing even the memory of brightness. Each breath felt like a struggle, the air heavy with unspoken dread. "Stay close," he instructed, gripping Jamie's hand tighter, fear stalking like a predator. They had broken away from the shadows, but it seemed they had not escaped, only relocated. What the hell just happened? Alex groaned, his voice wavering. It echoed in the emptiness. "I thought we were free." "Maybe this is the afterlife," Jamie whispered, her eyes wide with terror. "Maybe we're dead." "No," Mac hissed, shaking his head. "We can't be. We have to find a way out. We can't give in." From somewhere nearby, a faint sound stirred their attention, a low, mournful cry. The sound twisted around them, echoing with a strange familiarity. It clawed into the recesses of their memories, a haunting reminder that filled the air with biting bitterness. Jamie started, her voice barely audible above the whimpering. "Do you hear that?" He nodded, unease gnawing at his stomach. "What is it?" Then the sound morphed, sharpening into laughter, harsh, mocking, and echoing in the void like the crack of shattered glass. Mac's heart dropped. That laugh, it belonged to someone he knew. Lucas! He shouted, the name pulling through the darkness. Lucas, is that you? The laughter stopped, plunging them back into silence. The tension stretched out until it felt unbearable. Mac's heart raced, adrenaline flooding his body. Mac, we shouldn't, Alex urged, his face twisted in worry. Where are you? Mac's voice cracked, the desperation pouring out. And then, a voice came through, thin and wavering, as if it belonged to a ghost. Mac, help Lucas. Mac felt a rush of relief, but it was quickly smothered by an avalanche of dread that settled heavy in his chest. Where are you? Help! The cry echoed again, but this time it sounded closer, almost within reach. I can't hold on much longer. It's a trap. Jamie shouted, grasping Mac's arm. Look at the darkness, it's changing. It's alive. The surrounding shadows churned violently, twisting and seething like a storm brewing just out of sight. Shapes slithered within, kicking up fear like grains of sand on a beach before a tempest. Mac's instincts screamed at him to run, but something urged him to stay. Luke, he needs us. Mac looked into the abyss, fighting the trembling in his voice. We can help him. We have to. As he stepped forward, the shadows lunged, a serpentine mass shooting out, wrapping around his ankles like icy chains. Panic surged through him as he fell to the ground, his grip on Jamie slipping. Hold on! Alex yelled, grasping Mac by the arm. Don't let it pull you in. Mac fought against the shadows, clawing back with every ounce of strength, his heartbeat thundering in his ears. He could see Jamie's horrified face, a mirror of his own fear. Why isn't he here? Alex yelled, scanning the void in desperation. Lucas! Where are you? Mac shouted again, voice strained. But the only answer was the cacophony of tormented wails surrounding them. The shadows shifted, revealing disturbing glimpses, broken fragments of memories swirling like a deadly whirlpool. Faces of people trapped, some familiar, some not, their mouths moving in silent screams. Mac, do something! Jamie cried, panic drawing her close again. Then, within that chaos, Mac caught a flicker of light, a tiny dot weaving through the darkness. It was faint but unwavering, calling out like a lighthouse on the horizon. Mac! The light! Jamie pointed, as it expanded, illuminating their surroundings for just a moment. We have to reach it. Before he could respond, the shadows pushed stronger, dragging him further back. The chilling laughter echoed, growing louder, taunting him, but in that fleeting moment of clarity, they heard Lucas's voice again, this time strong and urgent, piercing through the laughter. Trust in the light, Mac. It'll guide you. Let us go. Mac shouted, attempting to rally his friends against their creeping doom. They pulled together, faces set with determination. As they took off toward the light, the shadows screeched, thrashing as if they were being burned. But the path felt fragile, every step uncertain. Would they break through to safety or fall victim to the lurking darkness once more? What other horrors awaited them in this twisted void? The laughter echoed, swirling around them, and as they sprinted toward the light, Mac knew they may not be the only ones searching for salvation. The light flickered like a heartbeat, pulsing in and out of existence as they sprinted toward it. Mac felt the shadowy tendrils clawing at his legs, furious at their escape attempt. Each footfall echoed like thunder in the hollowness, and behind them, the laughter morphed into a howling gale, swirling with anger. Mac! Faster! Jamie urged, her breath coming in sharp bursts. He glanced back, and for a split second, the darkness formed a face, twisted in derision, as if mocking them, taunting them for daring to hope. Panic surged through him. Don't look back! Alex shouted, his voice strong amid the chaos. Focus on the light. They pushed ahead, heart rates synchronized, desperation uniting them. As they drew closer, the light brightened, tearing through the shadows like a sword slicing through fog. They could almost feel its warmth, beckoning them with promises of safety and escape, but the shadows were relentless. With one swift motion, they lunged again, tangling around Jamie's waist. She stifled a scream, her eyes wide as she fought against their icy grip. Mac reached for her, heart racing. "Jamie! No!" But his hands grasped nothing but air. He felt a debilitating surge of fear. He couldn't lose her. Not now. Not after everything. "Mac! Help!" Her voice wavered, slicing through the tumult. "I can't hold on," he shouted, adrenaline surging through his veins. He lunged forward, reaching for her, but the darkness coiled tighter, pulling her back like a snake constricting its prey. "Let her go!" Alex roared, his face a mask of fury and terror. He grabbed Mac's wrist, trying to pull him back to safety. The swirling shadows cried out again, voices melding into one chaotic symphony, a mix of pain and laughter that was almost sentient. They retreated, shadows flickering away from the light, yet they pushed back harder, determined to claim their prey. "Trust in the light." Lucas's voice echoed once more, clearer this time, like a lifeline thrown into the storm. "It's our only hope." Mac's heart raced, guided by instinct. He thought of Lucas, trapped but fighting. If they reached the light together, maybe they could pull Jamie out of the darkness. "Mac!" Jamie's voice cracked, trembling as the shadows squeezed tighter. "Please. Jamie." He could barely speak, panic clawing at his throat. But amid the chaos, he glanced back at the light. "I can reach you," he called, desperate, but it felt hopeless, like grasping at smoke. "Now!" Alex yelled, digging his heels in, refusing to let the shadows take him as he braced against them. Mac and Alex surged forward, their united strength an anchor against the tide of darkness. With all their might, they ran toward the flickering light, determination ignited. Something in Mac snapped. With a primal roar, he yanked free from Alex's grip and dove toward Jamie, his hand closing around her wrist, feeling her warmth fight against the cold. "Together!" he shouted, desperation at the edge of his throat. With a surge, they pulled, fighting the shadows as they howled in fury. The light pulsed brighter, responding to their unity. Pain and fear blossomed, but a spark ignited within Mac, a promise he wasn't going to lose them. "Mac! We're almost there." The grim laughter faltered, losing ground against their will. But as they tumbled into the light, there was an explosion of sound. The darkness erupted, a final roar of rage echoing around them, drowning out everything else. They landed hard, sprawled on a ground that felt real, solid beneath them. Yet, as they caught their breath, the shadows retreated, only barely, but they saw it, more shapes lurking at the edges of the light, waiting. "What now?" Alex's voice trembled as he pushed himself upright, eyes wide. "Where are we?" Jamie whispered, fear lining her features. In the shimmering light, a doorway appeared, beckoning them forward, but it felt wrong. A chill crawled up Mac's spine as he exchanged looks with Jamie and Alex. They had escaped, but at what cost? And from the shadows, someone stepped forward, a familiar figure cloaked in darkness, grinning. "Welcome to my realm." The figure emerged, its features shrouded by the darkness that clung to it like a second skin. Mac's heart raced, a blend of recognition and dread washed over him. "Who are you?" he demanded, his voice trembling but defiant. "Come now, Mac," the figure replied, its voice smooth yet laced with malice. "You know who I am. I've been waiting. We have unfinished business. Get away from us." Jamie shouted, stepping in front of Mac with fierce determination. But the darkness coiled around the figure, creating an unsettling aura that sent chills through her spine. "You think you can just run from me? I thrive on your fear, your despair. It only makes me stronger." Alex clenched his fists, a shield of anger rising within him. "We won't be afraid of you." Such bravery is commendable, the figure said, tilting its head in mock admiration. But do you truly understand the depths of what you've entered? As it spoke, the world around them began to shift. The ground trembled, and the shimmering light that moments ago seemed a refuge flickered like a fragile candle. The shadows grew longer, stretching toward them like fingers eager to ensnare. What did we step into? Mac felt a lump in his throat as dread clouded his thoughts. The threshold between light and shadow, the figure explained slowly, its grin widening. Here, nothing is what it seems. Choices will be made, and darkness will test your bonds. Echoes of unseen horrors reverberated through the air, chilling their skin. The walls of light swirled, revealing fleeting images, faces of friends, family. Laughter turned to screams. Mac stumbled back, staring in shock. "Stop it!" Jamie screamed, clawing at her ears as if that could banish the noise, but the laughter only grew louder, more intense. "You cannot silence them," the figure taunted. "These are the ghosts of your past, the memories you wish to forget. Embrace it. This is a sick game." Alex shouted, his voice swallowed by the cacophony. "It's not a game." Mac's instinct pushed him to take a step forward, anger flaring within. "You've tormented us for too long. We want nothing to do with you. Don't you see? You're already entangled. You can never escape." The figure extended a hand, shadows slithering toward them, hungry for despair. With a primal yell, Mac lunged forward, breaking through the encroaching darkness. He reached for Jamie, pulling her close. "We face this together." "Together." Alex echoed, planting his feet beside Mac, ready to fight against the tide. A moment of connection surged between the three of them, a sparkling shield against the despair threatening to pull them apart. As their hands clasped, the warmth of unity ignited a fierce light, pushing back the encroaching dark. "No!" The figure shrieked, reeling as the light surged around them, fighting back with rage and hope. But the ground beneath them trembled violently. "This isn't over. You'll be back. You can't escape me." In the midst of the chaos, the doorway flickered, glimmering insistently, as if it was both a passage and a warning. The figures in the shadows wailed, their voices rising in a sonorous chorus of terror and anguish. "You have a choice," the figure rasped, flickers of its malevolence still thick in the air. "Stay and face your fears or take your chances beyond the light." "What does it mean?" Jamie whispered, fear creeping back into her voice. Mac tightened his grip on her hand. "We choose." With one final push, they stepped into the doorway, yearning for freedom, fear and hope intertwining as they plunged into the unknown. But as the shadows shrieked behind them, a single thought lingered: what dark secrets awaited them on the other side? The light flickered once more, and everything fell silent, leaving them standing at the edge, uncertain of what came next. The stillness enveloping them felt like a thick fog. Just moments ago, chaos had reigned, and now, they stood in silence, echoes of their terror reverberating in their minds. Mac blinked, trying to adjust to the strange, muted glow surrounding them. He felt Jamie's grip, warm yet trembling, and heard Alex's sharp intake of breath as if he, too, was wrestling with the enormity of what lay ahead. Their surroundings slowly came into focus. They found themselves on what appeared to be a rocky shoreline, waves crashing violently against jagged cliffs. The sky hung heavy with dark clouds, swirling ominously like the unsettled emotions within them. A lighthouse loomed in the distance, its beam cutting through the darkness, but it flickered like the dying glow of hope. "Mac, what just happened?" Jamie asked, her voice shaky. "I don't know," he admitted, feeling the weight of uncertainty settle deep in his chest. "But we didn't leave that thing behind. It's still out there, waiting for us. Or maybe it's already here," Alex murmured, scanning their surroundings, his eyes wide with unfiltered fear. They had stepped into something else, another dimension. Reality felt twisted, warped by whatever forces lingered between light and shadow. The air was thick with an energy that made their skin prickle, and the sound of the ocean felt like a warning, unrelenting in its ferocity. with hesitant steps, they moved toward the lighthouse. Each step was heavy, resonating with an instinctive dread. As they drew closer, the light flickered in a rhythm that mimicked their racing hearts. "What if it's empty?" Jamie asked quietly, glancing at the imposing structure before them. The weathered stone seemed to breathe, pulsing like a living entity. "Then we search for answers," Mac replied, determination blooming within him. "If we can find a way back, we need to understand what that thing wants with us." As they reached the base of the lighthouse, the door creaked open slightly, inviting them into the unknown. They exchanged cautious looks, nodding in agreement. Entering together felt like the only option. United in purpose, they stepped inside, the stale air overwhelming them. The interior was dim, lit only by faint light filtering through dust-laden windows. Shadows danced along the walls, warping reality further. Old maritime relics cluttered the space, faded photographs of ship crews, rusted anchors, and rotting wooden crates, relics of a past long gone but eerily present. "Do you hear that?" Alex whispered, eyes darting around. A low, mournful moan echoed through the air, pulling at their nerves. It was as if the lighthouse itself was alive, lamenting something lost. "Maybe it's just the wind," Jamie suggested, but even she sounded unsure. As they moved deeper into the structure, the beam of light periodically flickered, revealing strange symbols etched into the wall's warnings. Names? Mac felt an unsettling chill run down his spine. What had they unknowingly stepped into? Suddenly, the moan escalated, transforming into a cacophony of anguished voices, overlapping and frantic. Mac turned, panic rising within him. "Run!" he yelled, yanking Jamie and Alex back toward the exit, but the door slammed shut behind them with a resounding thud, leaving them trapped in this decaying monument. The voices grew louder, more frantic, mingling with the crashing waves from outside. A frantic rhythm started to take shape, footsteps echoed from the upper floors, a heartbeat to the cries of despair. "What are we going to do?" Jamie's voice trembled, caught between fear and the desire to press forward. "We need to climb," Alex shouted over the din, pointing to the spiral staircase winding upward. "That light, you think there's a way to turn it off or what?" Mac's heart raced. "What if we're in over our heads?" Suddenly, a face appeared at the top of the staircase, haloed in shimmering light. It wasn't human. The figure seemed to blend with the shadows, its eyes glowing with a fierce intensity that turned their fear into paralyzing dread. "You are not alone," it said, the voice resonating deep. Within them, speaking of eternal darkness and lost souls, Mac's breath caught in his throat. They had delved into a nightmare, and it was only just beginning. Now what? He thought desperately as they were held captive by the eyes, unable to look away, but one thing was certain, there was no way back without facing whatever haunted the lighthouse, what truth awaited them at the apex of light. The figure at the top of the staircase seemed to tower over them, a creature bathed in flickering light and cloaked in shadows. Its voice echoed, threatening to drown out their racing thoughts. Mac's instincts screamed for him to escape, yet curiosity anchored him to the spot. What are you?" he managed to croak, his voice barely a whisper. "I am the keeper of this light," it replied, its tone both soothing and menacing. "Many have come seeking the truth. Few have left." Jamie clutched Mac's arm tighter, her knuckles white. "We don't want trouble, just a way back home," she stammered, each word laced with a desperation that matched the knot tightening in Mac's chest. The creature leaned forward, its eyes glinting like polished obsidian. "Home? Ha! You are far from home, and it seems you've brought something with you," it hissed, glancing at the darkness lurking behind them. The shadows writhed, as if alive, ebbing closer to the trio with each heartbeat. Alex shifted uneasily, taking a tentative step back. "What do you mean?" "The darkness craves your fears," the creature continued, its voice now a chilling whisper. "It yearns for your despair. But I can help you, if you dare to confront it." Mac felt his heart thump unbearably loud in his ears. Confront what? What does it want with us? With an eerie grace, the being gestured toward the spiral staircase. The light from above flickered dangerously, revealing more of the bizarre symbols etched in the stone. Each symbol seemed to pulse, drawing them in, beckoning them to understand. The lighthouse felt like a trap, one that could crush them if they hesitated. Alex's eyes darted to the staircase and back to the figure. You want us to climb to what? The top? Only there can you witness the truth, it answered, a tone of urgency creeping into its voice. But know this, facing the truth means facing yourself. Are you prepared? Mac exchanged glances with Jamie and Alex. A wave of cold sweat trickled down his back. Facing their fears? It sounded impossible. Still, something deep within compelled him to push forward. What do we have to lose? Mac declared, trying to muster bravado he didn't feel. We can't stay trapped here. The creature's grin widened, revealing sharp, elongated teeth that glinted menacingly. So brave, yet so foolish. Up you go, then. But remember, once you start, there's no turning back. With that ominous warning hanging in the air, Mac stepped forward, leading Jamie and Alex towards the staircase. As they began to ascend, the moaning voices swelled around them, as if the very walls wanted to dissuade them from their path. Each step echoed like a drumbeat in the stillness, reverberating with the weight of their decision. Keep moving. Alex urged, his voice strained, urging Jamie and Mac to not look back. They climbed higher, the atmosphere growing oppressively thick with fear and foreboding. Suddenly, a loud crash sounded from below, shaking the lighthouse like it was about to collapse around them. The sound was followed by a guttural growl, primal and angry, sending chills down Mac's spine. The entity was stirred to life, something ancient and furious awakened by their defiance. They hurried towards the light that flickered erratically above them. If truth lay at the pinnacle, it felt like the only way to escape the very real danger below. What awaited them at the top? Revelation or ruin? With bated breath, they reached the final landing and pushed open the door, stepping into a blinding beam of light. What lay on the other side was more harrowing than they could ever have imagined. But would they find the courage to confront the darkest truth of all? Mac staggered back at the sight, the reality of their situation crashing down on him. What had they truly unleashed? The room they entered was vast, glowing, and unsettling all at once. The beam from the lighthouse stretched high above, illuminating a breathtaking view of the roiling sea below. But no amount of light could chase away the pervading sense of dread. Jagged shadows fought against the aurora, stretching along the walls like sentient beings, beckoning them forward with every flicker. Mac, what is this place? Jamie's voice trembled as they stepped further inside. The light pulsed softly, as if alive, filling the air with an electric hum. I don't know, Mac whispered, squinting against the brightness. But we have to keep moving. This you feel that? It's different. Alex nodded, his brows furrowed with worry. Like the lighthouse wants us to see something. But what? The shadows behind them writhed, and the air grew heavy with despair. It's trying to lure us back, Jamie said, heart pounding. There was a sudden crashing sound. The door they'd just passed through slammed shut, sealing their fate. Panic gripped them. Stay close, Mac shouted, his heart racing. He reached for Jamie's hand, grounding himself in the midst of uncertainty. Suddenly, the glowing light intensified, causing the shadows to retreat momentarily. Alex breathed, pointing at the center of the room. A swirling vortex appeared, its edges shimmering like the mirage of water in the summer heat. Inside, fragmented memories flickered, images of their pasts, their fears, the shadows of lives previously lived. Do you see? Jamie's voice trailed off, her eyes widening. The portal showed images of times they had failed, moments of vulnerability laid bare. Their torment echoed through the hall. Those are our fears, Alex stated, voice shaky. This is it. We have to face them not just for us but for Lucas too. The urgency in his tone sparked something within Mac. With a determined breath, Mac stepped towards the swirling light. We can do this. Together. I can't do this. Jamie gasped, trembling as the stark reality of her purest fear washed over her abandonment, isolation. The shadows whispered at the edges of the light, humming with insistent energy. Yes, you can. You're stronger than you know, Mac urged, pulling her close. The moment felt critical, teetering on the edge between despair and hope. What if we can't come back? Her voice cracked, that familiar fear creeping back in. This is our chance. If we face it, we can free the others. We might even help Lucas, Mac said, his words bold and confident, even as uncertainty tangled in his gut. Are you ready? Alex asked, glancing at the portal swirling before them. Mac nodded, heart in his throat. They clasped hands, Jamie's grip warm and reassuring. Let us do this together. With their resolve renewed, they stepped into the light, the vortex swirling rapidly around them. Suddenly they were metaphysical ghosts, living in each haunting moment that appeared, faces and voices echoing through time. Mac felt an agonizing tightness in his chest, kneeling before a memory of his younger self, lost and afraid, crying out for help. I'm here. He yelled, trying to reach out. In the flash of light, he embraced the child and felt an instantaneous warmth envelop him, a sense of safety flooding his veins. You don't have to be afraid anymore, he whispered. It's okay. Meanwhile, shadows flickered around Jamie, pressing in with all their force. The pale visage of her younger self, lost in a storm of isolation, clawed against her, grieving and sorrowful. You left me. The child wailed, anguish filling her voice. No. I'm here. Jamie cried out, tears spilling down her face. With every ounce of love and strength, she embraced that scared little girl, grounding her with truth until both forms fused into a radiant glow. Together, we're strong. Alex's face softened as he saw his reflection among the chaos moments where he felt ashamed and burdened. The shadows snarled, whispering lies that threatened to chain him. But with determination blazing in his heart, Alex stepped forward. I'm proud of who I am. The shadows faltered in response, retreating from his unwavering spirit. In that moment of collective strength, the weight of the despair began to lift. Each individual fear faced shrank the shadows until they flickered feebly against the brightness. The spectral keeper, once lurking and commanding, writhed as its dominion weakened. No! It hissed, drawing power from the darkness. You can't break free, this is your fate. You underestimate our strength. Mac roared, his voice fierce, harmonizing with Alex and Jamie. Suddenly, a powerful wave of light surged through the chamber, enveloping everything. In the vortex, they contested with every ounce of their experience, defeating the darkness that had defined them. With one last push, the shadows dissipated with anguished cries, dragged away by the light, forever banished. The keeper's figure twisted, melting into an ethereal haze. In that final moment of clarity, the lighthouse stone crumbled. The darkness retreating, the surrounding atmosphere shifted, becoming alive with color, laughter, warmth, and then, silence. Mac blinked, realizing they were back outside, beneath the gradually fading light of day. The lighthouse stood sturdy, yet strangely still, casting long shadows on the sand. The sea whispered nearby, a gentle embrace between land and waves. We did it, Jamie breathed. We're free. But what about Lucas? Mac asked, worry knotting his stomach. In that instant, a light flickered near the edge of the shore. A familiar figure emerged, stepping out from the shadows. Lucas, alive and whole. Hey, you guys. He called out, grinning, but there was a depth in his eyes, a bond forged through shared struggles. Relief washed over Mac as they rushed to embrace their friend. We thought we lost you. Jamie exclaimed, joyful tears sparkling. Lucas smiled, looking into each of their faces. You fought your fears. I knew you would come, he said softly, grounding them partially in the reality of it all. Together, they walked away from the lighthouse, leaving behind its haunting past. As sunset painted the sky in shades of orange and purple, they knew their bond survived through trials, stronger than any shadow. Let us head home, Mac said, glancing back one last time at the receding lighthouse. Its light shimmered softly, a reminder of the darkness they conquered together. Together, they echoed, walking forward into the future, forever changed yet unbound. Now, here's where you come in. You need to subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm. Your support truly makes a difference. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this epic conclusion. We want to hear from you. And for goodness sake, instantly share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Don't wait even one more second.